Yes, it's that time again, and it's time to join your host Hadders in the final of the King of the Sea 3 Cup. Now, where we stand right now is OM and OMNI have come to 2-2. It's the final game. OM have won the last two after basically being swept clear in the first two games. The first two games were a whitewash, a tactical mastery by OMNI. But OM managed to win game 3 and 4, having had a cyclone in one of them, and this game is game 5. This is the final decider as to who wins King of the Sea 3. I know that Jingles has made a video covering this very battle. However, I've got to try, damn it, because I already started making these in the series. I had this replay. I have got a different perspective that you'll see will be very special by the time we get to the end of the game. I have also got isolates footage just to sort of pad out the tactical aspect, but you'll see what I mean with the special footage. Let's get straight into the battle. Now, we're going to start this video on board with a Van der Decken 42. Van der Decken was kind enough to give me his replay. I asked Xbrow, who's the team leader of OM, if any of his guys had good replays, and I'd seen the final battle, and I'd heard about Van der Decken's antics, and I actually saw it live as well, and I thought, yes please, I want that replay now. Now, a little bit of backstory between OM and OMNI. OM and OMNI are actually one and of the same, technically. OM began in World of Tanks, and they then formed a World of Warships clan in the, I believe, closed beta phase of the game. OMNI are then the international branch of OM, and are so effectively the English-speaking players. And I'm not saying that you're not allowed in one or the other, depending on sort of. As far as I'm aware, everyone in OM is German. Everyone in OMNI is the international players that speak English. I don't know the criteria for the two. I know though that they are both well and truly at the top of their game, as you can see in this tournament, because they're both fighting it out for first. In the lead up to this battle, OMNI are beating OM 2-0 because they stomped them in the first two. It was clinical and it was quick. We're going to go over to Isolate's view now, so we're overboard with Isolate. I've got his view as well, just to give you the tactical aspect of the game, like I said earlier. And we'll hop back between him and Van der Decken when Van der Decken's kicking ass. So, this is Isolate's live replay, effectively, and is pretty much the same one Jingles used. So I'm going to try not to tread on anyone's toes here. So, oh, what's that sound? What on earth is that? Oh, Jesus Christ! Well, you know what that means. Yeah. Now, this throws a massive spanner in the works for any competitive game, and you can see all the players there saying that the game's rigged. It turns out Xbrow, who I spoke to after the game, had actually called that this was going to happen, because apparently every time OM are on this map, particularly when they're south spawn, they get a cyclone. Now, I don't know if he's got a crystal ball, or if he's just got the best sort of, I don't know, foresight going on, and in hindsight he's like, yeah, I totally did that. But yeah, they had guessed, and I think that's why everyone called rigged, because I think he'd actually mentioned it beforehand, and everyone was like, no, that's not going to happen, and it has. So who knew? What this means is that for the next few minutes, it's going to be happy days normal sort of play. However, the time will then close down, and so will the view range of each ship, and it will close down to 8 kilometers. It'll then stay like that until the last few minutes of the game, where it will pump back up to sort of full view again. What this means for tactics is everything you've prepared up until now, oh, we're going to smoke here, we're going to take this cap, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, goes sort of out the window, because everyone can suddenly run into each other at 8 kilometers range. And when, for example, a Kuchsov runs into a battleship at 8 kilometers, he's going to have a bad day. Potentially. I mean, it depends what the battleship's doing. It also depends what else is about and if they've been spotted more recently. So, yeah, cyclones really make games interesting. So, in one of the most interesting final battles ever, Going from earlier, so Omni had crushed OM for the first two. OM clung on and gained a third and fourth battle victory, so they brought it up to 2-all in some of the most interesting battles ever. Everyone said it was incredible. I personally didn't get to catch them, but I've heard amazing things, and that it was close both rounds and really, really good fights. So that's great to see an entertaining last battle to the tournament, because it could have been a 3-0. We can see that OM have actually managed to cap A and are just about to get B, and Omni are hanging around on C. Omni's ships, they've sort of spread, the vast majority of their force has gone to C. They've got just a destroyer hanging around B somewhere, but he's probably run off to go and join the team in C. And then they've got sort of a holding force to try and annoy OM above A. Unfortunately, I think this backfires on them a bit, because Strangers, who I believe we'll catch in a minute, has been getting hammered every time he's been spotted. And because a lot of OM are spread to his direct east and his south, they're getting a good crossfire on him, and they're basically lighting him up every time he appears. At the moment though, they're well and truly hidden. They might be in a smoke. I mean, we're going to pan over there now. Indeed, they are in a smoke. So you can see sort of the smoke play going on. There's still a lot of smoke meta on the EU server, but let's be honest, the Cyclone will lift that and make it more interesting. Back on board with Van der Decken 42 here, we can see him approaching the A cap, and I think he's going to try and potentially spot the two ships in their smoke there, which they've just appeared, or certainly Strangers had, and I think he's probably going to try and drop torpedoes on the smokes. So Omni and OM are pretty close. I think a lot of their players actually really get on, and I think they'd had a good laugh about these games up until now. Right, back into the fight. You can see just how much health that he is missing already. He's not having a good day. His poor Strangers. He's been battered in his Amagi there, and he continues to get battered now. You can see the amount of HE rounds flying in there, and that is what does a lot of damage to battleships in competitive. It's actually the HE fires, as well as if the cruisers have IFHE, they're taking a good, potentially up to sort of 5k off you every salvo as well. You can see the amount of rounds flying in there, and this is why the Kuznetsov in particular can be problematic in these games. And there we go. Strangers has already been taken out, so Omni are already a ship down, and OM are looking pretty strong, because knocking a battleship out this early, that is a large wedge of health that now can't absorb shots for everyone else. So that cruiser there and that, is it a destroyer, are now sort of stuck out on their own, and whilst they can, you know, sort of hammer away here and there, the Kuznetsov doesn't really want to fire because he might get deleted by one of the battleships. Now, cruiser play in competitive is unforgiving, to say the least. You'll have seen in a lot of my videos I tend to play battleship, and that's because I am a raging noob. I need the extra health and I need the armour to be able to get away with it. Battleship play is sort of, I wouldn't say it's easy. We can see there Strangers encountered what can go wrong. Some friendly fire there. What can go wrong if you get caught out by quite a large portion of the team. However, it's the easier job without playing down battleship players. You basically tank for your team. You take hits, you take damage, and you try and blast back at the enemy when they make a mistake. You're trying to wipe out cruisers. Cruisers, unfortunately for them, your job is whatever your utility is. So Kuznetsov, smoke and setting fire to things. Atago was setting fire to things, not so useful in the current meta. New Orleans and Chapayev both have radar, so they're wonderful for that. There's one of the destroyers spotted there. He's going to get lit up, because that's what happens every time a destroyer gets spotted. Sorry, where were we? Cruisers, yeah. So they get used for what they're most required for. Kuznetsov also has great AA. Now they will all fire as well, however, they generally want to be safe before they fire, hence smoke meta play, island play, trying to get yourself hidden and tucked in before you open up. If you're opening up and you're completely out in the open, like the OMNI to the north there, you're going to get hammered by the battleships, and if you catch one unlucky salvo, if your game isn't over, it's as good as done anyway. I mean, the Kutsoff in the game I did recently reversed out in front of me and took 2 citadels, and that was the only only 2 hits I got, and that was 80% of his health gone, and that was just 2 rounds. So imagine someone that's a better shot, M4 or Radical Larry, they'd have just obliterated him. And to be fair, in my own defence, I have wiped players out in a single salvo before. Now you can see the Cyclone is starting to move in, and the range is closing right down the view range. You can actually see on the mini-map there, his range has come right down. And here's one of the issues: suddenly aircraft have popped up next to him and spotted him, which is a bit of a pain in the arse, I'll be honest. When you're in the middle of a cyclone and you think you're sort of okay, and suddenly everything appears. What he is lucky about, Van der Decken here, you can see no fire has been directed at him whatsoever. So he got spotted by the aircraft, but didn't get punished for it, which is, I guess, one of the positives of Cyclone. Unless something's within 8 kilometers of you, or they have radar, they can't really fire at you accurately. So Van der Decken's going to pop some smoke here in B, and what OM have done is they've pushed their fleet eastward into the centre of the map in order to meet OMNI's attack now that they have a greater force. If they can focus their ships in one area and try and hammer OMNI as they come across, then they can pretty much get the upper hand to such a point that they're sort of guaranteed the win. As it stands, it's anyone's game. I mean, anything could happen, but OM certainly have the advantage. Now, Van der Decken actually took a couple of good hits there, so someone took the opportunity once he was spotted to fire everything he had and get a couple of good volleys in. You can see there the OMNI guys are actually well within range, and Van der Decken gets a good hit on the North Carolina there. However, he doesn't cause flooding. He must have just about taken it on the belt. He doesn't get to hit the destroyer in smoke, unfortunately, which is a shame. Back to Isolate's view, OM have actually just lost a battleship themselves, so you see how quickly the game can rebalance. It's now 1 apiece for kills, a battleship each, so it's pretty much evens. OM's Amagi, Radical Larry there, is not looking healthy, so again it's all about those health pools. He's not got much to trade with, so he's got to be very careful. There's torpedoes all over the place. Now, the carriers here have a very, very difficult job trying to spot stuff. They're only really going to spot it as soon as they're right over the target, because plane spotting range goes right down as well. And, for example, Kutuzov anti-aircraft range, I believe, is something ludicrous like around 8 or 9. Is it 8 or 9 kilometers? I'm going to have to check numbers. I apologise, I don't know them off the top of my head, but it's a significant range. It's far enough that you practically only spot it as it starts shooting your planes down. Now, Radical Larry has got himself in a spotter boller here, and he eats the torpedo for his death. So now OM are behind on ships. They've lost 2 ships now. It's not all over though, because they still have the points lead by a fairly decent margin, because they've held on to those 2 caps. OMNI are now getting to a point where they desperately need to do something, hence they're coming across towards B, but you can see from the minimap there that OM have formed a pretty decent screen of ships across the middle, and so are fairly successfully blocking their attempts. Unfortunately, the Kutuzov is spotted here. He may even be radared, I'm not sure, but he's getting hammered by everything. They want to wipe him out, and he's gone as well. So OM are now at a distinct disadvantage in ships. They're still winning on points again, but at disadvantage in ships. Now I believe OM here, the Chapayev, pops his radar. Or he did temporarily there, because someone in smoke was definitely spotted, and they're trying to hammer that guy. They want to get rid of him and at least even it out a bit on ships. Torpedoes coming in there, but going to be ineffective. Unfortunately, the guy just gets away. I don't know if they're going to get him. It's not looking good though. he just got away with it. So Omni are managing to hold on to that health, which they're very, very good at doing, getting ships away with like next to no health and either healing them up or appearing later on in a very well-sighted position, either in smoke or behind an island, and being able to get their guns back in the battle. Because ultimately, they've let him get away on a couple of hundred health, and yeah, he's got no health, but he's still got guns. So he can still chip away at the enemy team when he gets the opportunity. Now Omni all starting to appear again, might have popped radar here, I can't quite tell. Both teams have a radar ship, so they have a Chapayev each. It's actually a pretty typical layout. The North Carolina on the Omni team takes a huge hit there. However, he does obliterate the other Kutsov on OM's team. So OM again, they're now significantly down on ships. They've lost 4. Omni have only lost 2, although some of Omni's ships are pretty low on health. Both teams have got a pretty standard setup. I believe OM have 2. Is it OM? I think it might be OM have 2 Amagis, and Omni have 2 North Carolinas. But other than that, it's the double Kutsov, it's the Chapayev, it's the double Benson. Grief there, completely caught out and gets obliterated by torpedoes. So OM now looking pretty unhealthy. They did take out an Omni ship though. They lose another ship, but so does Omni at pretty much the same time. It's fairly close, it's 3-5. OM are winning on points still, so they've still got that points lead. And you can see everyone's starting to reappear. I don't know if the range is starting to pick back up for the Cyclone. It looks like it is. So you can see now that ships are starting to reappear all over the place, and we're back on board with Vanderdecken 42. Now Omni's 2 ships there are very, very low on health indeed, and OM needs to make it up. Vanderdecken gets one. He nukes the... is that another Kutsov? I think it's a Kutsov, and a North Carolina goes down as well. So now it's 3 apiece, and OM are on 938 points. Omni are contesting the middle cap, so they've only got 1 cap going up for points, but this is brilliant. They are nearly 300 points ahead, and they're in good shape. However, Omni don't go down easy, and everyone knows that Omni are very, very good at drawing back fights like this. So what Omni are going to try and do is level up the playing field some more, take out more ships, because Omni are particularly good at starving you of ships. Vanderdecken there gets spotted by the enemy Benson. You can see on the mini-map the other Benson on the OM team is actually getting chased by one of the battleships who's charging down his smoke, and unfortunately he's not going to do very well out of it. The crossfire there coming across from the battleship trying to hit Vanderdecken because he's the only spotted target right now. So we're having a proper gun duel, Benson on Benson. Vanderdecken's doing pretty well here, to be fair, but enemy Benson, the Omni Benson, has friendly help from that North Carolina, who's going to keep hammering away. Both carriers at this point are completely deplaned. There's no planes to help spotting, there's no planes to help try and engage anything, so the carriers are basically dead in the water, so to speak. As long as neither of them get spotted and killed in silly ways, then they're looking okay. And unfortunately OM loses their other destroyer, which takes their points right back down again to 947. Now Omni are going to have to do something about this right now. If they want to hang on and actually stand a chance at the game, they need to stop the points from ticking up, because even if they don't, even if they manage to kill Vanderdecken, they're still doing well on points, OM. So the battleship there is capturing B, and I believe, in fact it might even be the carriers capturing B. I believe he's nearly got it. He's going to grab that, and then he's going to try and head to A. Vanderdecken in the meantime is trying to do everything he can to get away from this Benson, fire torpedoes behind him, and just try and get distance between him and the Benson. The enemy Benson has the health advantage, and so in an average gun duel between 2 good players, unfortunately Vanderdecken is most likely going to lose. So he needs to get distance. On top of that, if the enemy Benson does spot him, then he's going to have the North Carolina firing at him as well. And as we've seen in plenty of these games, if North Carolina gets a lucky hit on you in a destroyer and gets a penetration, then he's going to do, I think it's 4,000 damage in one round. So you don't want that in your life when you're in a destroyer, particularly not this close to the end of the game. The minute has just ticked over. Vanderdecken pops smoke to try and hide. North Carolina misses. The carrier there it's getting to the point where the carrier might get spotted. It's all insanely close. And unfortunately, OMNI has capped the last cap. They can't win on points because they haven't got enough time for it to tick up. However, if they get Vanderdecken, they stand a chance at flipping the scores enough to reverse the game. We're down to 30 seconds. Vanderdecken's been spotted again by the destroyer. This is going to be the North Carolina's last chance to get a hit in, because he's got one more volley, because he won't have time to reload. The destroyer's hitting him up. He's got very little health. He sets fire to him, and a huge salvo comes in from the North Carolina. He's on just over 1,000 health. He's on 400 health. He's on 128 health. This is one round the enemy destroyer needs to get. 4, 3, 2, 1, and it's game over. And Vanderdecken has won the game for his team. Baron von Decken, for your luck, skill and tenacity, I crown you King of the Sea. A massive congratulations to OM. Vanderdecken just pulling it through by the skin of his teeth at the end there. Well done guys for being crowned the King of the Seas. Commiserations to OMNI. You guys played really well the whole way through the tournament, and it's a shame to see you lose your crown, but there's always next time. I just want to say thanks for all the players on all the teams. It was a great tournament all the way through, and there's some really entertaining games. Thanks to all the organisers. You guys are working away in the background to really make this happen every time, and the amount of preparation that goes into it I know is immense. So thanks for all your efforts. Thanks to Wargaming for hosting it, of course. Thanks to all the streamers for casting it live. They were amazing to watch. And hopefully I'll be able to make more of these in the future. So I've been Hadders. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this was a little bit different from Jingles' one. I tried to put my own spin on things, and hopefully I will see you all soon.